One of our most popular questions is how long does my hair have to be before I can install a set of dreads? And I'm happy to tell you, it's probably shorter than you think. For this style, you will need double-ended dreads or single-ended dreads, which have a loop at the top. I'll show you a method for both. You will need shears, a comb, and flat clips. These will lay nice and tight to the head. Croc clips won't work for this. You need to be able to control very fine amounts of hair. Elastic matrix thread or rubber bands. I definitely prefer the thread because you don't have to get the tiny little amount of hair through the loop of the rubber band so many times. This will save a ton of time. And you'll need water for control. Let's take a look at the double-ended first. You'll need your hair to be about 1.5 inches long for this method. Anything shorter and it's gonna be hard to get a section where you can get those hairs to completely wrap around that dread. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. So we're gonna use water, spray it in here for control, and we're going to carve off our section. This is where those crop clips won't work. Most clips won't work for this. You wanna make sure that you have some really flat, kind of rubberized clips that'll really get all these tiny little fine hairs out of the way. Make sure that you're using them on either side. Another thing that you can do is if you don't have clips, if you can put your tiny little rubber bands, those will also help hold your strays out. They'll just take longer because you have to put them in, then take them out. For our double-ended dread, the method looks a little bit like this. We're going to section so that the hair, we have it falling near the face, so we want this section to go up and down and be split side to side like that. Then we're going to simply lay in our dread. So I've pre-cut my length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten up one of the ends, leaving one end a little bit longer to wrap. And I'm just pinching all of that hair so it's coming in around that dread. Now it's important to note where you're holding that. You don't want to be too low and pinching it, like holding it so that the hair is all coming off down here. That's going to give you a saggy dread off your section. So make sure that all of your hairs are kind of coming off the center. You're basically going to give yourself a really terrible alfalfa spike ponytail for a second. Position that so that that spike is coming off the center. I'm holding the elastic matrix and the natural hair with one hand, and I'm just wrapping it around the entire shebang with the other loose piece. I'm not holding on to that dread at all. Now the important part here is I'm holding the thread a little bit tight. I'm giving it a little bit of tension. Too much tension and you're gonna snap your thread. This stuff is really, really strong, but we don't wanna have to snap it and then start over. You're gonna wrap it around like multiple times. So at this point, we've gone around so many times that we can kind of relax the tension on it and it's not gonna go anywhere. Don't relax it too much. We don't want it to fall out or anything, but it's not gonna unwind. We're just going to tie a knot in there. So I'm gonna go around once and I'm going around twice just for my first knot. That just helps to kind of hold it in place while you're securing your other knots. Now we have basically pretty much like the base of your installation. We have this terrible tiny ponytail and we have the dread kind of being like floss underneath. This is how we're going to kind of create that base. Lay the spiky ponytail next to one leg of your dread and you're going to hold on to one leg of the elastic matrix thread with both of those two. And you're going to now take the free leg of your elastic matrix thread and wind that down and around to bind the natural hair to the dread. So you're just gonna go around, around, around. I'm going down past the natural hair just a little bit and I'm gonna give it a wind kind of in the same spot. So we've kind of gone down, around, tied that hair to the dread, and then around to kind of build up a smaller section here. Now I'm gonna take the thread and just do another knot. And once we have our knot in, that's it. We're just going to use our shears, cut away the extra, and boom. Now you have your first installed double-ended dread on super short hair. So let's take a look at what that looks like with a single-ended dread. Your installation for single-ended dreads is very similar to a double, except for that your sectioning is a little different. So we're going to use about the same amount of hair, maybe a little bit less because we have a single end instead of the double, and the double has more weight to it. And your part line is going to be horizontal rather than vertical. So we're going to part so that our comb goes side to side rather than up and down. You're going to split that section into two. When you position your dreadlock, you want your dreadlock to be on top of the head so that you are working with basically the bottom side of the loop. You're going to take your top ponytail, that half your ponytail, and thread it through that loop on the underside of your dread. Now you're gonna take those two and you're gonna combine those two spiky little ponytails together. That's what's going to create your base. Then you're going to take those two and you're going to make sure that the position is coming off the center of that section as we did before. We're gonna take our elastic matrix thread, hold onto the short leg with your left hand and use your right hand to take the longer piece, and we're going to simply wind that around. So here we go. Once, twice, and you're gonna basically build this up until you have a solid set of turns. If you just did it once or twice, if you loosen your tension, they might slip and it'll make it harder to hold. So we're gonna wind this a few times until it kind of gives us that grip. Once you have that grip, we're simply going to drop the little ponytail and use both of our hands to create our base knot. So we're just gonna tie this once, twice, 3 times. As long as your knot isn't slipping out, you're good to go. So now we're gonna take that whole shebang, the dread, the tiny little ponytail, and your short piece of elastic matrix. We're gonna hold that in one hand. And then we are going to wrap the elastic matrix with our right hand, that longer piece, around and down until we have gone past the ends of the natural hair. So we're going to just continue wrapping. Once you get past the ends of your natural hair, we're going to simply wind in the same spot for about 4 to 5 turns. And this will create another spot with tension so that when we go to tie our knot, that we can actually let go and hold the elastic matrix with our thread for a few turns so it doesn't want to slip back up on us. We're just going to tie our single knots here. And again, you want to do this a few times to make sure that it's not going to back out on you. So make sure you do it at least 3 to 4 times. And once you do this, you are good to clip away those ends. And that's going to complete your first SE dread. And you'll want to make sure that you smooth this into the right position because obviously you don't want it to spike out like that. Hopefully these methods give you a little bit of inspiration, and just know that even if you have short hair, dreads are still an option for you. Removal for both the SE and the DEs are essentially the same. All you're going to do is come in, use your shears, cut up the bands, and let that slide out. You're going to cut the next band at the natural hair, being very careful not to cut into any of the hair. And just like that, you're home free. And you're ready to do your installation all over again.